Hello, and thank you for viewing this training on getting started with holding education rights for a youth in foster care through the SF CASA office. My name is Brittany Tannenbaum, and I'm the Educational Advocacy Coordinator and Case Supervisor at San Francisco Court-Appointed Special Advocates. Before we get started with this training, I would first like to thank you all very much for taking on education rights for a foster youth. There is currently a large gap in our system for educational rights holders for foster youth, and I thank you very much for helping to fill this gap. In this training, I will be talking about how to get started with holding education rights, including which documents you should be gathering, who you should be speaking to, and how you should proceed in this new role. Once you have officially been appointed as the educational rights holder for a young person, you will want to start reaching out to their team and making sure that they are aware that you are the educational rights holder for this young person. Some people on the team may already know that you are the educational rights holder, as they may have participated in a conversation before appointing you to this position, but sometimes not all people are aware of this status. If you are already a CASA on this case, you may already know some of the people that are involved, but it's important to let these people know that you are now the educational rights holder, even if you think that they may know this information. If you are not already a CASA on the case, you will want to start reaching out to the different team members for this young person and introducing yourself and letting them know that you now hold education rights for this young person. The first person that you will want to reach out to is the young person's social worker. You will then want to contact the youth's attorney, followed by their foster parents, group home staff, or the adults where they are residing. You will then want to reach out to the youth if you do not already know them. Even if you already do know the youth, you will want to reach out to them and let them know about this new role that you have in their life. It's important for them to understand what an educational rights holder is and what you can do for them to help them in their education. When you contact the young person's school, it's important to have a copy of the JV 535 or other court order designating you as the educational rights holder to give them. We want to have this information on record at the school so that they know who to contact in regards to the young person's education. Depending on the young person's circumstances, there may be different school staff that you will want to get in contact with, including their teachers, the foster youth liaison for the school, and other support staff that are involved with the young person. If it is relevant to the young person that you are working with, you will also want to contact the regional center staff, the Department of Rehabilitation counselor, or their probation officer. Where it is appropriate, you will also want to notify the biological parents of the young person about your new status as the educational rights holder. Your case supervisor is able to talk to you about when it is appropriate to be speaking with different parties on the case. It is important to remember that the youth's educational information is confidential and should only be shared with appropriate parties. Once you have started introducing yourself to members of the team, you will want to start gathering some information regarding this young person's education. The first thing that you will want to do is to meet with the social worker to discuss the youth's education. You will want to talk to them about the path that the young person has taken in their education and the different strengths and challenges that the social worker has seen for the young person in their education. You will then want to connect with the different people at the young person's school or regional center where they are receiving educational services. It is important to connect with these people to talk about where they see different strengths and areas of growth for the young person in their education. It is also extremely important to connect with the adults where the young person is living to talk to them about the young person's education. And, as appropriate, it is important to talk to the biological parents of the young person to know what they have seen in the young person's education. While you start to gather new information about this young person, you will also want to gather documents about their educational progress. One of the first things that you should be doing is requesting the current grades and academic progress from the school where the youth is attending. You will want to review their academic history and see if there are any gaps in their history of education. If you notice any gaps in their educational history, this will be some very important advocacy that you can do for this young person. If you notice gaps, you will want to request educational records from previous schools to hopefully fill these gaps. Your SF CASA case supervisor can support you with this process to make sure that we are able to locate all of the educational records for a young person. When you are meeting with the social worker regarding the youth's education, the social worker will have something called an education passport. You will want to request a copy of this from the social worker and see if there are any gaps in the educational history. If you notice any gaps and find that in the academic history from the school you can fill these gaps, you will want to update the information with the social worker so that the record for the young person in the child welfare system is up to date. Another record that you will want to request is the youth's attendance information from the school. It's important to see when they have been absent or tardy and see if there's any type of pattern to their behavior so that you can support them in their educational success. If the young person that you are working with is accessing special education services, you will also want to request the current Individualized Education Plan, otherwise known as the IEP, and/or the 504 plan for the young person. Once you are gathering all of this information, it's very important to keep a file that is in a secure place to be able to keep this information for the young person's educational history. It's important to keep all of these documents so that you can best advocate for the young person's education, and it's important to also send copies of these documents to your current SF CASA case supervisor to keep on file in the SF CASA office. In getting started with holding education rights, one of the most important things is talking to the young person that you have been appointed to support around their education. You will want to spend time getting to know them, and as developmentally appropriate, ask them questions about their education. It's extremely important to not overwhelm the young person while you're getting to know them, or if you're already their CASA, to not overwhelm them with this new information regarding their education. Over time, you will want to ask the young person open-ended questions to gain more understanding of what they see their education being and how you can support them in their education. Some things that you will want to ask questions about include their experience and thoughts around education in general, their desires and fears around their education, where they feel successful in education and areas where they need more support, information about their current classes and teachers, information about extracurricular activities, what support they have for education at their home placement, and what aspirations they have for their future. In the next couple of slides, I've provided some examples of questions that would be helpful to ask the young person to understand more about these different areas of their education. As you're getting to know the young person in talking to them and with other providers, it's important to continue to observe and document the youth's educational strengths and needs that come up for the young person. Just like the different documents that you are receiving from other providers, this information that you are documenting about the youth's educational strengths and needs should be kept in the education folder that you have in a secure location. It is also important to send copies of all education documents to your SF CASA case supervisor. Your case supervisor will also keep a file in the SF CASA office so that no documents are lost in case anything is to ever happen to you. The following are some questions that you can ask the young person to learn more about their general ideas about school. Some questions that you can ask include, can you tell me more about your school? Do you like your school? Followed by why or why not? What is your favorite part about school? What is the hardest part for you about school? How important is school to you right now? Are you happy with how you are doing in school right now? Followed by why or why not? Is there an adult you feel like you could go to if you had a problem at school? These types of questions and the young person's answers should help you to get a better understanding of how the young person views school in general and how they like where they are currently attending school. To start the conversation with your young person about their classes and teachers and how they feel about where they are, you could try using the following questions. What does your day look like at school? Can you tell me about your teachers and school staff in your life? Do you have a favorite teacher? Why is he or she your favorite teacher? Do you have a favorite subject? What do you like about that subject? Do you have a subject that you don't like? What don't you like about it? How does it feel to sit in class through a full period or day of school? The answers to these questions will help you get a better sense of what the youth is doing at school with their day and how they feel about going through a school day. In talking to the young person about their education, you also want to ask them some questions about their placement that are related to education. You can try some of the following questions to learn more about where they are staying and the support that they have for their education in their home. Some of the questions include, where do you do your homework, and is this working for you? When you have questions about what you're learning, who do you ask? Do you feel supported in school by your placement adult? Do you feel like you have enough school supplies and tools to do well in school? What do you eat before school? What does it look like for you to get ready in the morning? How do you get to and from school? It's important to ask the young person these questions to get a sense of what other factors could be affecting their education outside of the actual school environment. As the educational rights holder, you will want to work with the team to make sure that the placement is supportive of the young person's education and that the placement has all of the resources that they need to be able to support this young person in school. To help the young person succeed in school and to develop their skills outside of school, you will also want to ask the young person questions about extracurricular activities. Some questions that you could ask them are the following. What do you like to do outside of school? Have you done any activities outside of school in the past that you liked? Do you want to be doing something similar now? Are there any activities you would like to be doing? Are you involved in any sports or art programs? Do you want to be involved in sports or art programs? By asking the young person these questions, you will be able to get more information about their interests in life and help them to find resources to be able to do activities outside of the school day. In talking to young people about their education, it's helpful to connect their current education to their future. Over time, you will want to ask the young person about what they see for their future, and the following questions could help you with that. What are your goals for your education? What dreams do you have for your future? Do you know what you want to do when you're older for a job or career? Do you know how to get to that job or career that you're interested in? What support do you want or need to work towards your goals for the future? By asking the young person these questions, you will get a better understanding of where they see themselves going in the future and be able to connect their education to their future goals. It's important to remember that a young person's ideas about their future goals may change at any time, and as their educational rights holder, you will want to support them in these goals and help them find resources for their new paths in life. In asking these questions about their future, it's also key to remember that young people, based on their age and developmental level, will have different understandings of how their education connects to their future. As their educational rights holder, it's important to help them understand the different paths that they can take towards their future careers and helping them in their developmental and age-appropriate ways. After you have gathered initial information for this young person's education by speaking to the people involved in their education and gathering documents that were listed at the beginning of this training, as well as speaking to the young person about their education, you will want to start to make initial assessments about this young person's education and the different areas where they could use more support. In focusing your educational advocacy for this young person, you will want to ask yourself if the young person is currently in a school placement that is working for them, and if they are in the least restrictive environment for their ability level. You will also want to try and think about if they could benefit from any of the following. Could they benefit from an assessment for special education services, an assessment for educationally related mental health services? What about other general educational services? How about extracurricular activities? Or even a reduction in educational or extracurricular activities? Could this young person benefit from some tutoring? As you collect information about this young person's education, it's important to continually think about these questions among many others to see where you can best advocate for this young person as the educational rights holder. After you have collected these documents and began to think about where you can focus your advocacy for this young person's education, you will want to connect with your SF CASA case supervisor. Your SF CASA case supervisor will be able to help you create goals around this young person's education and provide you with resources to be able to help advocate for whatever is needed for your young person's education as the educational rights holder. As you collect information and start to work towards the initial goals for a young person's education, it's important to remember that their status in school or even their placement in school could change at any time. As the educational rights holder, you will want to make sure that you are consistently monitoring this young person's educational progress through the means that the school uses, such as School Loop, progress reports, report cards, and communicating with teachers and other educational staff as well as other providers for this young person. As the educational rights holder, you will want to consistently communicate with appropriate parties on the young person's team and consistently advocate for their educational needs in every setting. As it comes up for your young person in their education, you will want to request assessments and different services to best support them with their schooling. Additionally, while holding education rights through the SF CASA office, you are required to communicate with your SF CASA case supervisor at least once a month and to provide updates to the court at least 2 times a year. You will provide updates to the court through a JV 537 form, which is specific for someone holding education rights, and how to fill this out will be covered in a later training. Thank you for taking the time to view this training about getting started with holding education rights through the SF CASA office. If you have any questions following this training, please get in contact with your SF CASA case supervisor, or you may also contact the SF CASA Educational Advocacy Coordinator.